So let's roll. I'll click on the remaining guys as we're talking. First of all, I want to start off by also just giving a Shalom Aleichem. It's really good to see everybody again. It's been a little too long, so this is a really nice experience. And before we actually start the learning part of this year, it's so important and crucial and chashuv to recognize that how sometimes when we speak about me'afela the ori, you can take in darkness and make it light. This is really a very, very beautiful and acute example of something like that. All of us are technologically backwards, people, meaning like the Rebbeim in the yeshiva, who never knew what a Zoom was and be able to do something like this. But because you're put in a position where we're sort of forced to scramble and learn how to, be mechanchim in a very different, kind of a way. Baruch Hashem, right now that means we're able to, to have this year, shiurim and learning during the summer when guys are back and we're not there. But we're able to connect at a time that in a quote unquote normal year we've never been able to to do before, and it's really is a great opportunity. I always say that the 3 weeks and the 9 days Tisha B'av, the Bein HaMetzarim that we're holding in right now are on the one hand it's such a powerful time out of the year, and on the other hand, B'davka, because people are on summer vacations. Oftentimes people might be in camps, if you remember what camp was back in the day, or other kinds of internships, this, that, working, and we sometimes don't get the ability to experience the Bein HaMetzarim with the same kind of a like ruchani feel that we have with other things. Shana Yom Kippur in yeshiva, Simchas Torah, Chanukah, Purim, there's so many times out of the year, Chag Uzmanim, that we're very plugged in to our yeshiva environment, and during the summertime it's usually not like that. This is I'm very excited to be able to to share with the guys some of the the thoughts that are here, and like we said, hopefully this will be the start of some ongoing chizuk throughout this time. There are the shiurim today, next week. You didn't get the flyers yet, but we're really going to try to do this. And to do this well. We are definitely even thinking right now about making, again, Be'ezer Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should bring about the Geula before Tisha B'av. Tisha B'av should be a big Yom Tov celebrated here in Eretz Yisrael. But if Rahman Litzlan, there's Aveilus on Tisha B'av, we're even thinking about, depending on what guys' needs are, thinking about having some kind of a keynotes program, via the Zoom. It'll be, our afternoon here, but your mornings there. If not everyone can get to shuls, not everyone can be in a shul situation. Like that. So if there's an interest, we definitely might be able to to provide that. Hopefully some good things that are coming up. We're going to start off. I forgot what the title of this year is, but I made up something, but I know I'm going to speak about. So that's what we're going to talk about right now. And it goes like this. We know that there's a period of time during the year called the Bein HaMetzarim. In between the straits, Bein HaMetzarim, not so correctly, but definitely fairly, also translated or quasi-translated, in between the tsaros, in between the tragedies that Shavas Tammuz and the 5 things that took place then, Tisha B'av and the 5 things that took place then, 10 tragedies and 10 calamities that befell Klal Yisrael, the process of the Churban. That's their times of Aveilus. If we notice, reverse Aveilus, right? Reverse Aveilus means we start off with the easier types of Aveilus, usually associated with the year of Aveilus, the Yud Beis Chodesh. If someone Rahman Litzlan loses a parent, moving into periods coming, Bishenichnas Av, Mamatim Besimcha, periods that are more associated with some Shloshim like halachos that are there. Of course, culminating on Tisha B'av itself, we have more Shiva like halachos of more intensive Aveilus that are there. Going backwards little by little to remind ourselves more and more and focus ourselves more and more about what it means to be misabel, to mourn over the Churban Habayis. L'maisa, you don't have to get any further than the very first siman in Shulchan Aruch. And Aruch Chaim Siman Aleph, the Mechaber brings down the Rovi called the Kol Yirei Shamayim Shemeitzar B'Domi Al Churban Beis Hamikdash. It's appropriate that anyone with Yirei Shamayim should feel tsar and worry about the Churban Habayis, meaning and the Mechaber is bringing that in the daily halachas of every single day. We're supposed to be thinking about that. We, Ba'ani Yoseinu, or maybe on a Purim Madrega, then we should be. So maybe we're not every day thinking about, the Churban Abayis in the same way. But in this period, during the 3 weeks, this is our chance to really be able to think about and focus on that connection to Eretz Yisrael, to the Beis HaMikdash, to Yerushalayim, and to try to be mis'abil, to mourn for the loss of those things. So we're going to talk about that and the opportunities that the period of time, during the 3 weeks, during the 3 weeks brings. There's a famous story from the Apter Rav, the Oiv Yisrael, the Apter Rav, where somebody came to the Rebbe and they were complaining about their tsaros that they had, issues in Parnasa. Again, we all know what those are. We're living through periods like that right now. They came to get a bracha. The Rebbe gave them a bracha. Kavaldik, sasan v'simcha. And after the bracha was given, the Apter Rav lets out a tremendous wail, like this sigh, like a cry, and falls on the floor crying. And the chassid that went to the Rebbe for the bracha says, Rebbe, Rebbe gave me such a beautiful bracha. What happened? What did I do wrong? And the Apter Rav said, I was thinking about your tsaros and all the things that I gave you a bracha should be okay. And then I realized, oh my gosh, you know what? Hello. Today, we weren't makar of a karban tamid today. We didn't bring karbanos to the Beis HaMikdash, Klal Yisrael, the Beis HaMikdash. And boom, he fell on the floor out of tsar, right? All of a sudden recognizing what we're losing. We might not be in that madrega today, right? But we're going to work. So let's talk a little bit over here. There's a pasuk in Megillas Eicha, in the first parak of Eicha, where the pasuk says as follows: that kol rodefer hisiguha bein hamitzarim. All of those who were chasing, or rodef, right? Rodefeha. All of those that were chasing after Klal Yisrael, hisiguha, they reached us and they were dominant over us. Bein hamitzarim, in between these sorrows of the Shabbat Tammuz and the Tisha B'Av. Rodfer hisigua bein hamitzarim, and that pasuk, of course, is the source of the expression bein hamitzarim. And there's a very, very famous teaching of Reb Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin. Unbelievable, mamish unbelievable. Reb Tzadok HaKohen is brought in other svarim also. Reb Tzadok HaKohen taught us as follows. He quotes us in the name of the Medrash Magid. It says like this, that the phrase, I'm going to repeat the pasuk again. You can look it up. It's in Megillas Eicha, Perek Aleph, pasuk Gimel. Ko rodefeha hisigua bein hamitzarim. And says the Medrash Magid, and again, it's quoted in many svarim. The Medrash Magid said as follows: rodefeha, all of those who pursue her, the Medrash pointed out, can be broken down into two words. Korodef Reish Vav Dalid, Reish Vav Pei Dalid, Ka, Yud K at the end. And the Maggid of Mizrich said, Korodefei Ka. Anyone who wants to run after the Ribono Shel Olam, he sigua bein hamitzarim. You can accomplish that during the times of bein hamitzarim. In other words, Davka at the time of the Churban, Davka at the time of the Aveilus, right? More than perhaps any other time out of the year. If a person wants to be a rodef, if he wants to run after the Ribono Shel Olam, ko rodefei ka, anyone who wants to run after the Ribono Shel Olam, ka Ribono Olam, he sigua bein hamitzarim. You can make that hasaga, you can accomplish that during the bein hamitzarim. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I'm going to read to you the words of Reb Tzadok HaKohen right now. Reb Tzadok writes as follows. He says like this. You can accomplish even more during Bein HaMitzarim than you can any other time during the year. Says Reb Tzadok like this, if you have the Ribono Shel Olam and the Hashras HaShechina is, I'm going to use the word limited to the Beis HaMikdash itself. Right? And that's where you go to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that's where he's found. And you see the Asara Nisim that we experience every single day in the Beis HaMikdash. So a person can run the risk of thinking that, you want HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's where he is over there. He's there, in that place. Where I am, in my place, in my life, in my house, in my community, in my block, that's not true. There, that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is. Right? And says Reb Tzadok HaKohen, right, that what happens though when the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyach goes homeless, when the Beis HaMikdash, Beis Chayenu, was destroyed, and there's no home of HaKadosh Baruch Hu in Yerushalayim anymore. Unbelievable, right? And there's no home in Yerushalayim for HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And at those moments when the Rebbeinu Shalom Kaviyach is homeless, where we're forced to stop and think, hey, wait a second. Where is HaKadosh Baruch Hu? Where is he? How do I access him? I used to go over there. So what he disappeared? He didn't disappear, obviously. You know what? It must be, right, that the Rebbeinu Shalom, and this is really always true. It's just that we don't always see it, and we can be led astray, because when we have the Beis HaMikdash, we can think for ourselves, that's where HaKadosh Baruch Hu is, in that place. But when it's not there anymore, we're forced to stop and think, hey, wait a second. Kol road to Feikaf. I want to run after the Rebbeinu Shalom. If I want to be a road, I want to pursue him. I want to chase him. It's quite hard to find him. I can realize that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, in fact, is found in every single person's environment. That the Rebbeinu Shalom is actually found in every single person's house, in his Dalet Amos, in his family, wherever he is, in his place of employment, in his school, in his base medrash, in his heart, in his mind, deep in his neshama, that the Rebbeinu Shalom is everywhere. Now the problem is we don't see that, right? We don't see it. So that's why the pasuk tells us once again, Ko rodev ka. You have to run after him. It's not visible like it was in the Beis HaMikdash. You don't see it easily anymore. But a person has tremendous opportunities. I always give a mashal. This is one of these wacky things that happens to me. Again, it's close to that. I remember once, a bunch of years ago, I was walking on, I'm sure we all remember, Kanfei Nesharim Street in Givat Shaul in Yerushalayim. And I was walking on Rehov Kanfei Nesharim, and I looked to my left, and there's this
short little guy, some funky hair, a little baldy in the middle, walking next. He looked vaguely familiar. Look again, because I'm trying to, I'm usually pretty good with faces. I want to try to remember who that was, and like that. And all of a sudden I said, hey, wait a second. That's Yitzhak Shamir. That's the Prime Minister of Israel, walking, moseying down, finishing right over here. And hey, turn around quickly and say, okay, what do I, what do I need now? Here's my in. I'm there. Now, normally, we think of a prime minister as he's the guy, who's, at least in Israel, he's still off on vacation somewhere in Europe doing nothing. But the prime minister is some guy that's not always accessible. He's out there. He's embezzling. He's committing crimes. He's doing a lot of different stuff, there. And but he's certainly not the guy that the common man is going to be able to access and talk to. But all of a sudden, when the prime minister is walking down Kanfei Nesharim, right, smack in the middle of Givat Shaul, hey, there he is. Go turn around, high five, and that's it. This is, by the way, before they killed Rabin, before prime ministers and his security guards and all that stuff. So it's still more Hamish here than it was in other places in the world. And but that mashal is incredibly powerful. When the Rebbeinu Shalom is no longer found in one central location, right? That means that a person has an opportunity. Remember, in Yeshiva, Gedalia Finkel always speaks about the idea of taking things that seem to be obstacles and turning them into opportunities, right? So there's an incredible opportunity that exists during the period of the Bein HaMitzarim to be able to say, okay, right, I can accomplish something right now through the avoda of Aveilus. Now, we love being happy, right? Ivdu Hashem b'simcha, it's a big thing. We love being b'simcha. We love everything should be, freilich, and everything should be great and all of that. But there's a period of time in the year, right, where there's a condensed Aveilus, right, where there's a morning with an M-O-U, not morning like good morning, but morning like the bad kind of a morning, the negative morning that's there, right, where a person, by experiencing that avoda of Aveilus, is going to be able to accomplish so much more in his ruchnius than he can at any other time out of the year. Rodfei kahi sigua bein hamitzarim. Unbelievable. I'll tell you a marsha. There's a marsha Masechta Bechoros on Daf Chesam and Beis, where if you remember from your Bechoros days, Daf Chesam and Beis in Bechoros has one of the strange series of Agaditas called the Sabei de Beatuna Agaditas, where the Sabei de Beatuna, the elders of Athens, the Greek philosophers, sat down with some of the Tanaim Amoraim. They had these philosophical
discussions, but they're all clothed. The Gra in his Perush on the Agadat Sabbath de Beatuna point out this is one of the two places in Shas where there's no Paship Shat in the exchange, in the interaction between the Chazal and the antagonist in the story. Everything is understood on a deeper metaphorical kind of a level. Again, there's a basic machlokes between the Gra and the Maral, how to learn all the different Agadatas that are there, but they're they're very, very chashuv, to see. So in one of the places in the Agadat of the Sabbath de Beatuna, the Gemara makes mention, again, I'm skipping out the whole back and forth between the Chazal and the elders of Athens, but the Gemara makes a point of pointing out, as part of this exchange, the Gemara makes a comment that a Tarnigoles is the Kaf Aleph Yom, Uchenegdo Beluz. The Gemara says a Tarnigoles, a chicken, the gestation period of its egg is 21 days, okay? And Kenegdo Beluz, and you also have a similar thing with certain kinds of trees. So we would in other places in Yerushalmi they identify as almond trees. And the Maharsha on that Gemara makes a point. Again, I left out what the Gemara speaks about. I just gave you the reason why we're speaking about this Maharsha. Maharsha on that Gemara says something very, very interesting. We all know that there's a famous nevuah that Yirmiyahu Navi had. We read it last week in the first of the haftarahs of what we call the Gimel, the Puranus, the three haftarahs of Puranus that we read leading up to Tisha B'Av. So Yirmiyahu Navi was given a vision of what's called a makel shaked, of an almond tree that very quickly blossomed. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu says, "Shokei ani ala ra," I'm going to very quickly bring about evil to Klal Yisrael. And the Yerushalmi quotes that the remez there is as follows. The Maharsha quotes this Yerushalmi that the almonds blossom in 21 days. Yeah, that's the time from the time that the first little thing comes out on the branch till you actually have the almond fruit that's there. And the Maharsha explains that Yirmiyahu Navi, there's a very famous idea, was being shown that there's a 21-day period of time, higher mathematics, 3 weeks, 7, 14, 21. There's a 21-day period of time during the year that the Rebbeinu Shalom has set aside for churban, right? For puranas, for tragedy that's there. It happens quickly and it happens intensely. Okay? At the same time, the Maharsha says, okay, again, he uses to explain the Agadah, we're just going to leave out the back and forth, but he explains the Maharsha. I'm going to read some of the words of the Maharsha. The fi sheyesh od kaf aleph yemei slicha v'simcha v'yom tov rishon shel Rosh Hashanah ad kaf aleph tishrei shehu Oshana Rabba yom gemar hachasima k'diisa b'midrashos. There's another 21-day period of time out of the year. The time from Rosh Hashanah till Hoshana Rabbah, the day of the great chasima of the din brought about in Klal Yisrael. And the Maharsha says there's an exact hakabala, there's an exact correspondence that's there between these two periods of time out of the year. Everyone knows, right, that the Yamim Noraim are about a person's growth, his connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, being mamlech the Rebbeinu Shalom, building himself and righting himself through tshuva, and that culminates, of course, in Zman Simchasenu, the most happy period out of the year, when Klal Yisrael finally reaches the heights that you can reach through the period of the Yom Norayim, 21 days from the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, boom, Zman Simchasenu, and of course that culminates on the great day of Simchas Torah, and the Gavaldige Simcha that's there. Says the Maharsha, B'choros Daf Ches, but there's another period of 21 days. Okay? And that period of 21 days corresponds day by day, moment by moment, right, with the mahalach of the Yomim Norayim. And whatever a person thinks he can accomplish during the Yomim Norayim in terms of devekos and kirva to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, through that intensity, through the simcha that's there, the person can achieve it equally during the 21 period of days of the period between Shabbat Tammuz and Tisha B'Av, Habal Leinu L'Tova. Okay? And the same simcha that a person can reach on Sukkot, by the end of Sukkot, the person with all of those madregos, if a person is able to reach the height of Aveilus for the Churban Abayis, to understand what that means and what his role in that Aveilus is, what the Yerushalayim means to us, that person can accomplish a devekos with the Rebbeinu Shalom in the exact same way. Let's not forget the famous pasuk in the beginning of Yirmiyahu, where he tells us that Meirachok Hashem nirali. Sometimes we see that HaKadosh Baruch Hu appears to us davka from afar. Richok, right? At times can bring about the greatest sense of kirva, an unbelievable phenomena that exists in the world, right? Richok can bring about kirva. We all know that, right? When a person really, misses somebody, right? So then you all of a sudden start thinking about them, right? Maybe some of us might have remembered when we, again, I don't want to get into anyone's personal lives, but you get on a plane and he comes there to Israel for a year or 2 or 3, and you think about, mom, dad, and all that, right? And then all of a sudden, maybe, you realize that they're not so horrible after all, right? Maybe you start to think, hey, I miss home, my little sister, my dog, or whatever, my neighbors, all of that stuff ain't so crazy anymore. Because Meirachok Hashem nirali. And when a person is able to stop and say, wait a second. Now, all right, I'm in that period of richok. I'm in that period of being far, far, far from Yerushalayim, right? Understand something. You guys on the screen, even though you're dispersed across the Arba Kanavos Za'aretz, are no more far from Yerushalayim than I am sitting over here 10 minutes away. I'm going to be in Yerushalayim. I'm going to probably be in the old city later tonight. I have to go drop my son off back in his yeshiva on Har Tzion. Okay? But the physical proximity, sitting there on Har Tzion, is as far away from Yerushalayim, Michla, Yofi, as you are sitting there over there, wherever you're found, even if you're out there in Arizona, or I guess you're probably the most far out there right now. But so now, no matter where you are, right, and no matter where I am, the distance that we have is out of this world. But the more we can appreciate that, right, the more we also appreciate how close we can actually be, and it's there for the taking. I'll give you a mashal. Again, everyone knows that you all laugh at me when I say this, but everyone knows I like fish things. It means like fish and fish mashalom and whatever it is. So it happens to be that last week I had spent 3 days, actually 2.5 days, almost 3 days in a little place that I like to go to as maybe hopefully once a year, but sometimes not even that, on the Lebanese border on a mountain with absolutely no human beings around. It's a perfect COVID-19 getaway. No people that you don't see, you don't hear, absolutely zero. You can't get better than that. The place we were at has right outside the door of the little private in the woods, so Mamish Gevaldik, has a little fish pond. That's there, a goldfish pond. Tens of goldfish in it. I'm sitting on the bench, and I'm staring at the fish. Once again, just trying to ponder mysteries of a fish. And I came up with another idea, but that I think is important for us to hear. So I'm sitting here, and I'm less than a foot away from the fish that are there in the water. And there were some big ones like that, very unusual fish, right? And you're sitting there, you're right there. Okay, well, listen carefully. You're right there, okay? And you're so incredibly close, but the gap, right? The distance between me and the goldfish that's sitting there in that water is crazy, right? He probably doesn't even know that I exist, right? His universe is a universe that I can't live in, right? I would die if I went down in there. My world that I'm walking in is a world that he knows nothing about. And the truth is, I don't really know all that about fish world in the slightest bit either, right? But we're sitting 2 inches away from each other, right? But 2 inches apart is a world of difference. But sometimes, right, when you can be right over there, and you're incredibly different, but it's right there. So our goal, right, during the periods of the 3 weeks is to be a rodef cut, to say over again that Reb Tzaddik and the Maggid of Mezrich, co-rode the Feha, the Goyim, the Umas Ha'olam, they ran after us and they knocked us down during the period of the Churban. But we have an opportunity to say, because of that Churban, right, through the Aveilus, if I really am rodef after the Ribono Shel Olam, I can actually realize, you know what? Yeah, it sounds like he's so far away. I don't see him. I don't anything, but he's mamish right there, right? And it's unbelievable. So I was sitting there by the goldfish pond, looking around, right? Looking around me, not at the fish anymore, but looking at the sky and the trees and all the things that are surrounding me, and realizing, I think I'm seeing trees, but right around me is the Ribono Shel Olam, is the Shamayim, is the Malachi Asharis, is all the worlds of Ruchnius that exist, all of the kochos of Ruchnius. It's right. It's as close to me, right, as the fish in that water right now. So we're tasked with the job of running after thoughts and ideas and emotions, right, that can help us attach ourselves a lot more to that experience of what the Beis Hamikdash, what Yerushalayim was all about. And it's so important to be able to do that, to start to really think carefully who we are, what we're all about, and what that means to us. Don't make the mistake, right, of when we think about the Churban and Aveilus. So sometimes we think about the great times we had in Eretz Yisrael. We used to go to the Kotel, we were in Yerushalayim, and we did this and we did that, and wow, I'd like to be back there now. I get stinks. I'm stuck here in Chutz La'aretz, right? That's a mistake to think those things, right? Because the vision that we have from our experiences in Eretz Yisrael, right, are as much the galus as anywhere else in the world. It's not better just because we're here closer. Adarabah, it confuses people sometimes. You want to think you can think about one thing, right? Think about the day that you stood. Everyone remembers these experiences. You stood by what they call the Kotel HaKatan in the Arab quarter in Yerushalayim, and you really felt like a little bit what it's like to be like with people that want to kill you, right? What it means to be in Mamish Galus. You can't cross into that gate. It's 1 foot away from you, right? 1 foot away. But you're not allowed to go. You can't, right? Tumah doesn't work with the Harabayis. I can't do it. Think about that, right? A little bit more. We want to be focusing on the periods of the periods and the time periods of the Galus. There's 2 teachings that are very, very important, I think, and then we're going to move into some other things. Right? We know that one of the first things that took place during the Shiva Asar B'Tammuz was that Batel HaTamid. They stopped bringing the Karban Tamid every single day. Right? And there's a beautiful Sfas Emes in Parashas Pinchas from 2 weeks ago. The Sfas Emes brings as follows. Again, some of us, we went to Sfas Emes in Ger this year on the Masorah trip. So some of us, we hope, here, let's listen to Sfas Emes now. So the pasuk says, "Savez b'nei Yisrael v'yamartu leis karbani lachmi li'ishai reich michochi tishmeru la'akriv li b'mo'ado." Right, one of the parshas as we say every single morning. Tishmeru la'akriv li b'mo'ado. Says the Sfas Emes. Rashi brings down in Parshas Vayeshev, right, that the word tishmeru, the word shmira means when you're yoshev umetzape, when you sit and yearn. When is this going to take place? When is this going to come? Rashi quotes about that Yaakov Avinu was Aviv Shamar Asadavar. Yaakov Avinu guarded the dreams of Yosef Tzaddik. And the Sfas Emes says, Rashi says in Vayeshev, but that means is he heard the dream, and it was Yoshev Umetzapi. He sat there and he yearned, when is this dream gonna take place? Says the Sfas Emes, it's an unbelievable thing. You want to bring a Karban Tamid today? You want to bring a Karban Tamid? The Torah tells us it doesn't matter that we don't have a Beis Hamikdash right now physically. It matters, but Kaviyachal doesn't matter. But Tishmeru lahakriv li b'mo'ado. You should be sitting every single day and yearning. Yoshev umetzaper. When can I be able to bring a Karban Tamid? I want to be able to understand, right, what it means to have the kirva to HaShem that comes about through a Karban. And I'm yearning. I want that. I realize I'm missing something right now. And then you go through the other stages of thoughts. I like I can say the words. I'm missing something, but maybe do I really feel that? Do I understand what it actually means? What were those nisim that took place in the Beis Hamikdash? How did a person become closer to the Yibon Shalom through a Karban? And what am I totally lacking? What am I totally missing now? And Tishmeru lahakriv li b'mo'ado, every single day, a person inside can be guarding for himself. Hey, you know what? I want to be able to bring that Karban. Yesterday we had Parshas Masik. We finally caught up. You guys caught up to us over here, and we're now in the same Parshios. Right? So you read Parshas Masik. So, Chumash Bamidbar ends with a weird story, right? That the people came to Moshe Rabbeinu and they complained, right? That, oh my gosh, that the Benos Slavchad are going to get a part of Chelak in Eretz Yisrael, but then they're girls, so they don't always get all the Yerusha. They're getting married to somebody else, maybe to a different Shevet, and then that Shevet is going to get our part of Eretz Yisrael. It's supposed to be part of our Shevet. Oh my gosh, we don't want to lose our Chalakim of Eretz Yisrael. And the Torah gives, again, look in the Mefarshim, the Torah gives an Isser that will at least apply to that generation, right, of not being able to marry out of your Shevet to make sure that your Chelak in Eretz Yisrael was going to remain yours. Lo sisav nachala mimata l'matei acher. The Tfer Shlomo, the Radomsker, says something unbelievable. He says that the Torah, now again, just saying something that maybe we're familiar with, maybe not, but the Chumash effectively ends at the end of Sefer Bamidbar, right? Devarim, as the Mishnah Torah, right, is Moshe Rabbeinu's Chazara of the Chumash, the first 4 Svarim, right? So in many, many places, like, the ideas are brought down that the ikar of all the teachings in Chumash are on the first 4 Svarim. Right? Then we have the Chazaras that are there at the rest of the time. And the very last parasha in the real parts of the Chumash, right, is this complaint of, oh my gosh, our Nachala in Eretz Yisrael is going to be shifted into the hands of another Shevet, and it's not going to be ours. And it almost sounds like a selfish, like petty, little thing that's there. The Damskar is all different. There's a beautiful Meshiloach. I'm about that Ayin Sham if you want, but the Damskar writes something beautiful. Says it's fair Shlomo Bradams like this. The Torah is giving us a very, very important lesson of things that we got to be thinking about. If it bothers Yidden, right, that a chelik of Eretz Yisrael is going to go from one shevet to the next. Hey, we're all Jews. It's in that shevet, Reuven to Shimon to Menashe to Dan, Naphtali. It's all Eretz Yisrael. Like, how bad is it? It's okay. So their shevet is a little more, a little less. What do I care? I still have my place to live anyway. But if the Torah comes along and tells us that, but you see, right, that a Jew's kesher to Eretz Yisrael is of primary importance, and if it means, right, that my chelik is going to go into another, even to another shevet, saying that's bothersome, kol shekain and kavachomer there dumskers. As a person has to say that when Eretz Yisrael is in the hands of the Umos Ha'olam, B'nai Yishmael, we're not in charge of Eretz Yisrael. We don't rule over Eretz Yisrael. It's not all run al pidas v'din. We don't have a mikdash. We don't have a kibbutz galios. Kol shekain and kavachomer. How much we have to be worried, right, about the fact that we lost out on our chelik in Eretz Yisrael. We have to be mentally back over here at home in Eretz Yisrael. There's a teaching of the Aveilus. The Aveilus writes for us, right, just thinking more and more about, how do we come home and how we road feikah, how do we run after the Rebbeinu Shalom. I want to read to you some words of the Aveilus. Rabbi Yaakov Emden. This is found in the Siddur of the Aveilus in the beginning of the section on Tisha B'Av. And I'm going to read a chunk to you because it's mamish beautiful. Kan makom shiroi laharchi bo adibur. I'm going to talk for a little bit. He says, "Ilmoli lo haya ela avon zebiyadenu." If there was only one sin in our hands, she'ein misavlim al Yerushalayim karoi, and that one chait, the only chait we had was that we're not properly misabil. We don't properly mourn for Yerushalayim. That would have been enough. That would have been enough to have such a bitter, long gullus, even for that one little thing. And says the Yavet, and that one fact that we are not misabel on Yerushalayim the way we're supposed to can justify and explain away all of the tragedies and calamities that have befallen Klal Yisrael throughout this entire period of Galus. Unbelievable. Like one thing that's wrong. The Aveilus has ran away from us. It's not in our hearts anymore. We're all calm, comfy, tranquil, living in a foreign country, living in a land that's not ours. Some of us forgot Yerushalayim, and it's not what we're thinking about all the time in our hearts. It's like a dead person who, over time, we don't really remember that person the same way we used to. And says the Yavet, that fact alone, that we're not focused on our Aveilus, that we're not getting into that mourning and that sad kind of a mood, that explains away the entire galus that we have. And what the Yavet is pointing out to us, right, in very, very simple terms, that a person would be able to say, you know what, maybe I want to put a stop to that, right? Maybe I want to say, hey, we're even before Rosh Chodesh Av right now, right? We're a week plus, okay, we're a little bit late, a week plus into the 21 days of corresponding to Rosh Hashanah through Sukkot, right? So we missed a couple of days. But if a person is able to stop and say, you know what, I really got to work on the idea of trying to feel a loss, right? To think about a base, to be talking about, to be thinking about a base of Mikdash. Tishmeru lahakriv liba mo'ado, to be yearning and saying, oh, I'd love to be able to bring a korban. Right? This past Shabbos, when we were saying Musaf, right? So the tefillos, Aleinu l'simcha l'artzeinu sita eina big willingness. I took the time to stop and let's think about what it would be like for all of Klal Yisrael to be back in Eretz Yisrael. Picture the korbanos being brought in the base of Mikdash, to be thinking, right, about what these unbelievably beautiful and meaningful things are, you know, for all of us. And there's a Mesilas Yesharim who tells us, right, a very, very big thing. Mesilas Yesharim is found in Perigud Test. Some of you guys are Messiahim, maybe even more than once on the Mesilas Yesharim. But the Mesilas Yesharim tells us that he says like this. I'm reading from Perigud Test and Mesilas Yesharim. Im Yomar Adam mi ani or ma ani, Safun she'espala al Golas v'al Yerushalayim. Who am I? Right? And like, what am I worth? And I'm going to be the one that's going to daven for Yerushalayim. I'm going to be the one who's going to, like, you know, with my tefillos make this work. Do you really think because of my, you know, half-baked Shemona Esrei that I daven, that the Gullus is going to end and Yerushalayim is going to be rebuilt? That doesn't make any sense. Mesilas Yesharim says, Chuvaso Betzida. And he said, but the answer is right in front of your face. Again, reading from the Ramchal, the Mesilas Yesharim. He says, we know the Mishnah says in Sanhedrin, Daf Lamed Ches, Lefikach Nivra Adam Yechidi. Kadosh Baruch Hu created Adam as one. One Adam Rishon was created in the world. Kadesh Kol Echad Yomer B'Shvili Nivra Olam, and every person has a chiyuv to say that the world is here for me and for me alone. Adam Nivra Yechidim B'Shvili Nivra Olam. Ukvar nachas ruach hu lefanav yizbarach sheyabana mevakshim u'mispalim hazos. And the Kadosh Baruch Hu loves it. They get to nachas when we say, "Hey, Hashem, we want to be back home. We want you to be back home. We want to base a mikdash." And Kadosh Baruch Hu looks and he says, "Wow, that's great." And he might not listen right now for whatever the reason a Kadosh Baruch Hu has, but he haim asu ashalahem. Where Kadosh Baruch Hu semeach b'zeh, but they're doing their thing, and Kadosh Baruch Hu is very, very happy when he looks at that. He says, "Adarabah, that's our job." Mashal amadavar dome. Okay, you guys are a little young, so you don't totally see this yet, but maybe you remember back when you were little, you have nieces and nephews, maybe younger siblings, right? Imagine you have like a little baby, 2 years old and 1 year old. They pick up a card or whatever it is, and you've probably seen this before. I'm just going to use my phone as an example. They pick up a thing and they go like this, and they shuckle back and forth. Right? And what does mommy say? I see how many guys are smart. So what does mommy and daddy or the aunts and uncles, grandparents say? Oh, he's davening. Wow, he's going like this and he's davening. Right? Little kid takes the string from a window shade or whatever, and he puts it on his arm like that. Or he takes the blanket and he puts it over his shoulders and he makes some like noise. He says, oh, he's wearing a towel. So it's like so cute. Whatever it is. The same exact way that every parent gets a nachas ruach. Right? When they see their kid doing something dumb. Okay, like what are they doing? Like they're not doing anything, right? But the parent, but he cares. That's beautiful. That's nice. I like that. I love when my kid cares about Yiddishkeit. Baruch Hu the Mesilas Yesharim says the same exact thing over here. The nachas ruach that a yid brings to Ribono Shel Olam when he says, "I care about the important things." Right? Yerushalayim is important, the base of Mikdash is important, Karbanos are important, and I care about that. I'm going to think about it. I'm going to daven for that. So then you have that's your thing. He says, "Ein lana li pater mipnei miyut kochenu." The fact that we're not big tzaddikim doesn't mean that you're off the hook. It doesn't mean you're not supposed to care at all in the slightest. But al kiyotze biza shenina, the Mishnah says in Pirkei Avos, lo alecha malacha ligmar liata ben choron lihibato mimena. You might not finish the job, but you can't take off. You're not free from trying. You're not free from working at it. It says the Mesilas Yesharim, we all, right? And again, I think it's more during this period than anything else, right? A person has to stop and say, I want to be able to focus on reality and be focusing what it means, what is it based on? Why do they call the bracha we make after the Haftarah? The Beis Hamikdash is called Beis Chayenu, the house of that's where we live. Beis Chayenu. Why? I'm not alive right now. I don't have Chayim, even though I don't have a Beis Hamikdash. Hey, wait a second. So obviously, right, there's something going on that I'm not totally seeing over here. And I want to think about that. I'm going to give a couple of suggestions, right? Things that we can be doing during the next week, plus, going through Tisha B'Av, and hopefully, like we said, feeling some of that Aveilus, right? And reminding ourselves, in a couple of days, we're going to get sweaty and gross, okay? We might have a little, extra facial hair that we don't really like right now, okay? And every time, like, your beard gets stuck in your collar, or like you got, some hair floating into your mouth, and you say, well, why am I doing this, right? Why do I smell bad? Why is my undershirt sticking to my body? And like, when it comes to like the actual Tisha B'Av time, it's like really stuck to your body, right? Like, why am I grossed out right now? So you stop, you know why I'm grossed? You know why because I'm grossed because of a Beis Hamikdash. And then you stop and say, so hey, wait a second, okay, I got the reminder, gross, sticky, smelly, I'm supposed to care about the Beis Hamikdash, right? And we stop and ask, okay, right? So what does that mean to me? So let's do a couple of things. The emes is, again, if we were from the big tzaddik, and maybe we're doing this every day, but right now we're going to be trying a little bit. Every single day there's a couple of brachos in Shemona Esrei, okay, that speak about the Churban and that speak about the Geula. Right? So maybe we've been focusing so much on Rifa'enu for the past couple of months. We should still do that, right? But now is the time to be, taking our time and say, hey, to Kabbah Shofar Gadol L'Cheiruseinu, Sundays to Kabbah Gadol. Can I give you a thought? Again, hoping to have, and I'm hoping, assuming when you see a lot of you guys back in Eretz Yisrael soon, a couple of weeks. But I want to tell you something, right? And this is unbelievable. Right now, to me, this is like a moving thought, really, a moving thought. You can't see the tears in my eyes right now, but they're there. Right now, according to Israeli law, okay, there cannot be a kibbutz galios because foreigners are not allowed into the country. Tourists can't come, right? A yid living in Australia, in the former Soviet Union, Lithuania, Phoenix, you're not allowed. You can't come to Eretz Yisrael. Isn't that crazy? Right? But there's one being that can change that in a second, right? And you're going to daven in Shemona Esrei, Baruch Ata Hashem Mekabetz Nidchei Amo Yisrael. And you stop and say what's going to make yeshivas open next year is not because we're doing a good job playing with the Knesset members and they're going to agree we have it worked out and today's the big day, we're getting all the things and all these yeshivas we are. But by the way, like it's happening, but in our tefillos, okay, person has to just tell himself very, very quickly. It's illegal to have a kibbutz galios right now. But the Ribono Shalom, where he asks, turning to say, Kadosh Baruch Hu, bring us back to Eretz Yisrael. We all know the brachos, right? But let's stop and think about them right now during these upcoming days. What do they mean to me? What am I yearning for? Don't autopilot that section right now. Really try to think about those particular brachos. Every one of us, right? A second idea can be definitely looking for ways to tone down the sinas china and to be building acts of chesed and avas china that are there, right? To get to the shorish of what the churban is all about. So Ma'aseh that's abroad, one of the Rebbes, they were in the Beis Medrash during Tisha B'Av story, and somebody dropped something. I don't know what exactly the story was. Somebody needed something. They said to their friend, "Can you get that from me?" And he said, "Just give me one second. Let me just finish up reading the Kina. Let me just get to the bottom. I'll get you. I'll give you a hand in a second." And the Rebbe saw this taking place, and he said, "Whoa! Isn't that nutty, right? You're saying kinos about the churban, about the destruction of the Beis. Why don't you do something to build the Beis Hamikdash? Don't just talk about the churban. You have a chance to help the guy out right now. Do a chesed." Build the Beis Hamikdash. Do it, right? There's somebody that you're not friendly with, pick up a phone and call them and say hi, right? You have a chance to do a chesed where a lot of us are probably stuck at home more than we want to be. God only knows, right? So you know what? So get out and say, I'm going to do something. Take the garbage out one more time. Clean a floor, clean a window. Do something that I don't play with your little siblings. Do something to make somebody happy out there, right? Chesed, Abba, we can build right now. But the avoda of that Aveilus, like we said, that can bring us closest by thinking about what we're doing. Shmiras Shabbos, right? I said the other day, if guys got the recording we sent out, a week or two ago, the beginning of the Bein HaMitzarim, right? Shabbos in Zman is what the Beis HaMikdash was in Makkah. And when a person can be mechazik his Shmira Shabbos, he can connect to the Beis HaMikdash in a little bit of a deeper kind of a way. And this is the time, to be doing that, 100% the time to be doing this. 100%. Shmir Shabbos and all that, singing those miros on Friday night to speak about the tefillos, the musaf that we spoke about before. These are the days that we want to be doing them. Every day when we bench, when we say Birkas Hamazon, okay, we stumble, we eat, right? We enjoy eating. Yeah, we still do that. And I put on a couple of pounds, that's for sure, sitting at home doing nothing for 4 months. And I should be exercising a little bit more, but whatever, you're stuck at home. And we're all benching, okay? And there are brachos in Birkas Hamazon that are all about Eretz Yisrael, right? No dilach HaShem l'ken shinchad eretz chem datov v'rachava. Yeah? Now I'm going to challenge you just for a second. Why am I doing benching, a bracha, thanking Hashem for food, right? Why am I all of a sudden segueing into Eretz Yisrael? What's the kesher between the two? Why? Even more basic question, Psukim and Chumash, right? V'yachalta v'savata uveirachta es Hashem Elokecha al ha'aretz hatov asher nosan lach. Pashup Pshat in the pasuk sounds like after the v'yachalta v'savata, the bracha is al ha'aretz hatov asher nosan lach. Look quickly, there's machlokes, an Onkelos and a Targum Yonasan, how to translate that pasuk, ayin sham. Right, but why is benching every day's act of eating so connected to Eretz Yisrael? Well, why do I have to thank and about Eretz Yisrael, daven for Yerushalayim, B'nei Yerushalayim Yakodesh, B'meherov Yameinu? Why? Hint, take a look at the Meshech Chachma in Parashas Eikev, on the Psukim of benching. You'll see a Gevalige teaching. Homework. You want to look up, take a look up, right? But when you're benching, take the time, you know what? These are the days that I got to be focusing on these things that are there. It's a week before Tisha B'Av. It's not crazy to pull out a keynote, dust it off, and learn them. Read them a little bit. Right? So that the keynote shouldn't just be this like freaky Chinese, haiku poetry that I have no idea what it means when I'm sitting down. I'm just crying because I have to read this, figure out the churban. It hurts just to say like that. No, right? A person can take the time to read them, learn them, right? And realize, wow, there's like a lot here. I can appreciate. There's so many lessons that are there in keynotes, right? So okay, we're rushing. Take the time. I hate to say it. I don't want to say looking forward because that's a bad word, right? But here, a lot of us are davening outside. I don't know if you're back if you're doing it, but a lot of us are davening outside still, right? And there ain't no way in the world you can sit in an Israeli summer day, okay, from the morning time till Chatzos, out on the floor outside in the blazing sun on Tisha B'Av and say keynotes. It can't happen, right? So the plan is, you have the, minyan is short on the Shachris part of Tisha B'Av is short. Okay, so minyan early in the morning outside, keynotes at home. Right? But if you have that opportunity like this year to be able to do it at your own pace, right? To read through, to learn them, to get a feel, don't rush, right? Don't rush. Try to understand it a little bit more. It's so powerful. And last but not least, very, very, very important, when we discuss our plans, right? What am I doing and what am I this? Always, 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 always remember, right, to include Eretz Yisrael as even just a casual mention in our plans. Right? I'm planning doing this if Chalila Mashiach kuminished. Right? If Mashiach doesn't come, then we're planning on doing this. Right? Where do I want to go? I really want to be in Eretz Yisrael. What are you doing next year? Fab. What are you doing next year? I'm really going back to Eretz Yisrael. If that doesn't work out, then I'm going to try to come back anyway. Right? And if that doesn't work out, Rahman al-Litzan, God forbid. Yeah, got the idea? I might be in New York. That's a real God for New York. Oh my gosh, right? But you understand the mindset of what a person always wants to be talking about, saying, right? What's on his mind. Rahman al-Litzlan, we should be like this anymore. Yeah? Do you remember Ray Kenningsberg said to us at the beginning of coronavirus? This is one of the comments, by the way, that Mamish made the past 4 months for me, right? Ray Kenningsberg. Remember what he said? Right? Don't just be davening that things should get back to normal. right? Don't be davening, I want to be able to go back to shul, and I want to be able to go outside, and I want to be able to, like, now wear a mask and whatever it is. Don't daven things go back to normal. Daven things should be the way they're supposed to be. Chadish Yameinu Kikedem. We want a Yerushalayim, we want a Mikdash, we want a Geula. Look at the opportunity that we have right now, right? So when we make our plans, right, talk about Eretz Yisrael, right? I really want to be back. Rahman al, so maybe it's not going to happen. I don't know, but that's what I want, right? Where are you going to be living next year? Where are you going? I really hope to be in Eretz Yisrael, but if not, then this. If Mashiach doesn't come, then this. But I want Mashiach to come. I'd rather not, right? You got the idea, right? And with those, I made a list right now of 6 things, right, that people can be doing on a daily basis to experience road to feikah, to be running after the Ribono Shel Olam, mitoch the churban, and mitoch the destruction, and mitoch the sad that exists, right? But sometimes it takes that sadness, real, genuine. Again, Tisha B'Av is not a day for dancing; it's a day for sad. But that feeling of Aveilus, right, can bring the person incredibly, incredibly, incredibly close to what's important, to what's real, in the form of his devekas with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and his connection to Eretz Yisrael, his connection to the Beis Hamikdash. And Be'ezer HaShem, right, we should be wise, we should be running after the Ribono Shel Olam. Kol ro defer yisigua bein hamitzarim. We can accomplish a lot right now. Amir Tashem, we should walk away being so incredibly built and close to the Ribono Shel Olam, and taka be zoche to the Gula Shlema B'karov B'yameinu. Some of the tzaddikim always say, we say the bracha B'karov B'yameinu. So the pasuk in Tehillim says that Elef Shanim Be'einecha Ki Yom Esmo Ki Yavor. And your eyes, Kadosh Baruch Hu, 1,000 years is like our one yesterday. Okay? One day in human terms, there are 1,000 years of Kadosh Baruch Hu. We say the Beis Hamikdash should come B'karov B'yameinu, but our days, not your days of Kadosh Baruch Hu, not like 1,000 years from now, and the way we count the days, B'karov, the way we count. And Amir Hashem, very soon before Tisha B'Av, we should be able to be back, not just in Telestom, but back in Yerushalayim, in the real Yerushalayim, Be'ezer Hashem. But until then, let's remember how chashuv it is to be mis'abel over the Churban, kol mis'abel Yerushalayim, mizoche b'ro b'simchasa. And Amir Hashem, we should really be able to feel, it's a funny bracha, but to feel Aveilus. We should be able to feel the sadness and feel the Churban and feel what it means to be down about those important things, and then get connected to the Ribono Shel Olam through that incredible feeling of richuk and an incredible feeling of churban. Okay, we're going to pause things over here, and we will be in touch, Amir Hashem, soon. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Welcome to. See you soon.
Thank you, Rabbi.
See you soon.